Good morning. You ever wonder what life would have been like if you had stayed with your trash ass piece of ex? No? Just me? I call bullshit. Now, the majority of us have exes, or at least an ex, and a reason that they became an ex. Hi, I'm the Real Aquarian, and this is a pick a card. This pick a card is going to answer a very specific question. What if you had stayed? We're going to take a swan dive, if you will, into what your life, what your future would have been had you stayed with this person, this toxic as person. I'm going to start off by saying, if you'd like to get the other signs for this reading, please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000. Please comment in the section below what sign you'd like to see next for this pick a card. As always, my readings are timeless, so when you're seeing this, you were supposed to. Okay. You ready for this? Okay. The first card is the Chariot reversed. If you had chosen to stay, it would have been because you were scared either of being alone or of this person, your ex. You would have stayed in this relationship because you would have thought that you knew the full breadth of the situation, and you did not. Next card is the Six of Wands reversed. You would have stayed in that relationship and felt nothing but doubt. Because I tell you what would have happened. You would have gotten your ass handed to you. Your ego would have been blown the up. If you had chosen to stay, you would have felt like shit because you would have already known that it was broken. That this was an unmendable, unfixable sort of relationship. For whatever reason, it was not something that was to be. And by all accounts probably should never have been, which is always a possibility. You also know that this person, this is going to sound very arrogant, but hey, confidence is king here. You already knew that this person was beneath you. Next card we have is the Eight of Swords. Had you chosen to stay, you would have inevitably ended up trapped. There's this high level of control that would have happened. Either this person was already controlling or a power dynamic or something would have shifted, but ultimately this person wouldn't have changed. So this is who they were. They would have gotten more control of you had you decided to stay. And this is once again a situation with the Chariot reversed. Your ego, your thinking you're in control is what keeps you out of control and under theirs. This is, of course, obviously, if you had chosen to stay. Next card we have is the Four of Cups. If you had chosen to stay, they would have never told you how bored they were of you and how unsatisfied they felt around you. So they start viewing you in a devalued sort of way. Next card we have is the Justice reversed. If you had chosen to stay, you would have ultimately fallen on your ass. Something very unfair would have happened to you. You would have had something taken away. And normally it's in a legal sense. This could be custody, this could be something with a business, this could be house, car, material things. It could be your freedom. Something you are at a loss. Had you decided to stay, it would have been to your detriment. Something big, something does not go in your favor. There is some sort of injustice, unfairness that occurs to you. I would say probably just staying in this relationship sounds unfair as, but and finishing out, we have the 10 of Swords reversed. This is a little awkward. You might go to jail. I'm just gonna say it. You might go to jail. If you had stayed in your relationship with your ex, you might have gone to jail because you might have offed them. There is a bad, very toxic relationship here that is fraught with either just emotional abuse, but very well could also be physical abuse. There's a lot of mental manipulation going on though. But ultimately it looks like you hit a threshold. You hit that click pop moment. And all of a sudden you're not okay, especially with this Justice reverse. Something unfair happens to you, and you were left at a disadvantage. And when I have the 10 of Swords here reversed, now again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they die, and doesn't necessarily mean that you offed them. What I'm seeing here is that's a possibility as far as your future had you stayed with this person. They die. The end. No, I'm just kidding. It's not necessarily death. If you had chosen to stay, you would have been at a loss. They would have faced actual ruin on some level. They end up going through their own emotional and mental distressing sort of moments where they just feel, sort of deadlocked and hopeless. In any case, whether or not they actually would have died, ultimately you ruin them on some level. And from what I'm seeing here, you ruin each other. If you had stayed with your ex, you inevitably end up ruining each other. And I would say just by the look of this, they ruin you more so. And that's only because more is taken away from you, such as your own sort of control, your own self-assurance, your own sense of security. This person strikes me as hella narcissistic, this ex of yours. And they have the ability to really sort of mess with your mind. That's what I see here. So if you had stayed, you guys would have ruined each other. So yeah, that's what would have happened if you had decided to stay. It's probably good that you didn't. Just saying. All right, next one is if you chose the skull. So your first card is the Magician. Had you decided to stay, it would have been because you wanted to. You would have attempted really hard. You would have given it a real go to make it work, full of optimism and hope and positivity, through the power of manifestation. You would have given it a real college try to make it work. So you would have chosen to stay because you would have wanted to. For what, you wanted to make it work. For whatever reasons were holding you, you would have chosen it because you wanted to make it work. Next card we have is the King of Cups reversed. So ultimately, if you had chosen to stay, you would have placed yourself squarely in an emotionally situation. It's a point where the brightness and hope of rekindling that relationship, the positivity and optimism I was talking about, yeah, that falls by the wayside pretty damn quick. That's what I'm seeing here with the King of Cups reversed. It fades very quickly, very early on, and they ultimately just become domineering and sort of brash and bullyish. There's this sense of because they can. Next card we have is the Knight of Wands reversed. If you had chosen to stay, it would have ultimately looked good aesthetically. If you had chosen to stay, there would have been absolutely no progress to this relationship. It literally was dead in the water. Ultimately, it gets worse. With the Knight of Wands reversed, I'm seeing a leaving of a relationship and commitment being on this very sort of fine line sort of situation. So there's a fidelity and infidelity sort of aspect that's sort of at play here. That's a possibility. Now, again, doesn't necessarily mean physical. It could just be emotional. But there is definitely a considering what commitment actually means going on. And that doesn't bode well. Okay, so the next card we have is the Ace of Swords. If you had chosen to stay, what's that saying? You shouldn't dip your pen in the company ink. I think that's how they say it. Yeah, if you had chosen to stay, look, okay. If you had chosen to stay, they would have cheated on you with someone from work. More than likely. Whether that's emotional or physical or both, there would have been some sort of infidelity and some sort of commitment crossroads, breaking point that would have occurred. Next card we have is the Strength card reversed. Listen to me very, very carefully. If you had chosen to stay with your ex, you would have begun to ignore your own instincts. Stopped listening to your higher self and inner guides. You would have abandoned all aspects of personal growth for yourself, and you would have lost a huge chunk of your own willpower. So what I'm trying to say is you settle. You settle. If you had chosen to stay, you would have settled. Like, don't do it. Nothing good comes from that one. Okay, moving on. Last card. Let's finish this out. Let's try to get, let's see. 3 Pentacles reversed. Okay, so if you had chosen to stay, your ex would have only become increasingly spineless. They would have gradually raised their level of disrespect towards you, upped the ante of like resentment. Ultimately, they would have become, if not already cynical, but more cynical. And that sort of gives them that walking pass of dicketry, you know? So not a happy outcome for them either. They just sort of drone it when it comes to you. It's on autopilot. They will, because it's Pentacles, they will totally lean into their work, and that means leaning into somebody else because of that Ace of Swords, because of that Knight of Wands reversed. So yeah, again, don't settle. My God, you dodged one here. My goodness. Yeah, they're gonna distract themselves from you. You'll literally just become something at home. God, that's fucked. All right, well, there's that. Okay. All right, this is if you chose the Sunflower. Your first card is the Devil reversed. So if you had chosen to stay, it would have been because of temptation. Was the that good? Doesn't necessarily have to be that. It does carry the air of wanting to relinquish some level of control. And the other person being more than happy to sort of take the reins. Let's see, we have the Five of Cups reversed. So if you had chosen to stay, geez, this person would have been your rock bottom. In case you were wondering where your rock bottom is located, just left over here with your ex. That's where your rock bottom is. Yeah, you would have, if you had chosen to stay, you would have ultimately just been depressed as. You would have been really disappointed in yourself for having succumbed to said temptation. Because ultimately it's not what you really had wanted, I don't think. Let's see. Next card we have is the Star reversed. So if you had chosen to stay, this person, Jesus, your ex, okay? Let me just say that. If you had chosen to stay, you would have needed validation and love, right? Any relationship does. You would have needed validation and love. You would have needed intimacy. You would have needed compassion, comfort, care, right? This person would have given you none of these things. Ultimately, okay? Maybe at the beginning, but that will dwindle. They won't give you the validation you need. They won't give you the love you need. Not in the way that you need it. They won't give it to you. They just won't. They will always deprive you of some level of it. You'll never get the whole piece, and it's on purpose. And that's what's so about this, because it's on purpose. This person, I've pulled the Star reverse before. This person is a thief of one's light, a taker. This person takes and takes and takes pieces of you. If you had chosen to stay, that's what this person, that's what you would have been facing. That's what this person would have done to you. Slowly but surely, they would have picked you apart. Next card we have is the King of Pentacles. If you had chosen to stay, I will say this plainly. If you had chosen to stay, they would have either acquired money and not told you about it, hid it from you, or they would have lost money and not told you about it, hid it from you. Or, third option, there's money, maybe not extra, but there's money that you wouldn't have known about going somewhere else. I.e., secret love child with custody payments, or that lover on the side. It involves money, but it would have been kept from you had you chosen to stay. Whatever issues revolving around money this person would have kept you completely in the dark about it. Okay, the next card we have is Death reversed. Okay, this is another one where I need you to just listen carefully. If you had chosen to stay with your ex, you would have reverted back to the codependent behaviors, all that unhealthy shit. You would have reverted back to those codependent behaviors in relatively short form. Much like the Devil reversed, you would have sort of slid right back to where you were in terms of an unhealthy relationship that seemed one-sided, very much one-sided as far as who had good intentions and who had ill intent. Well, I know this for sure. You can say goodbye to happiness, goodbye to positive changes for yourself, goodbye to the ability to move forward, goodbye to, feeling at ease in a relationship, because this wasn't the one. I can tell you that. If you had chosen to stay, you would have started to stress and hold on to whatever aspects were related to the separation at the beginning, at the onset. If you had chosen to stay, you would have kept whatever you had told yourself you had gotten over. You would have kept and held on to it. It would have been a chip on your shoulder, and you wouldn't have been able to get over it. And so you hold on to it, and it just haunts you throughout the entire length of your relationship. It's something that will forever and always come between you. And so it's just something you have to, relationship. It's something you guys never heal from. That's obvious with the star reversed. The healing part of the process never happens. You guys never get past the processing part. You guys never get past the actual going over what happened, the inventory of the situation, as it were. And so healing never happens. And this is where you have this person taking bit by bit from you. And so when you have death reversed here, if you had chosen to stay, I mean, it feels like this person is like slowly driving you mad. This person would have driven you crazy, because whatever it was that was an issue for you that caused distrust or stress or strain in your relationship before, something stuck around and you cannot get over it. It's not something that was forgivable. It's not something that was forgettable, one or the other or both. It was something that never went away or never was addressed appropriately. And so it stays with you and it festers. And so you just stay mad and you get bitter. And that is okay. And on that high note, let's go ahead and round this out with the last card. We have the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so if you had chosen to stay, they would have ultimately started taking you for granted. Like I said, they would have slowly started taking pieces of you. The star reversed confirms this, the denial of the love and the validation. But with the Wheel of Fortune, we just have more confirmation of that. With that taking for granted, they'll just take what they want, and they don't care how that impacts you, how that affects you, because they're not really in the relationship. They won't be taking any responsibility for any sort of behaviors, how they treat you, how, what level of respect they show you, how committed they are in the relationship. None of these aspects are important to them. So they just sort of are like, this is what it is, and we're just gonna go with how it is. That's the sort of attitude, approach that they end up taking to the relationship. But it's, they're surrendering with the Wheel of Fortune. You surrender to fate. They're surrendering to the fate of being with you, but it's on a complacent level and not at all on an actual love level. There's, in fact, deep resentment that is coming from this person. So, whoo! Good that you are not with this person, because this person, look. This person didn't like you on some level. I'm sorry, I hate to say that, but no, this person didn't like you, y'all. I don't know how long y'all were together. I don't know. But this person on some level never liked you for something. There was something never connected, something never clicked. There was some aspect of your guys' wavelength that never meshed. There's resentment that's all up in this, and the liking of having control and getting to sort of, getting sort of to have their cake and eat it too. And it is ultimately at your expense, but they don't give a shit because, you're just sort of expendable. So, good thing you're not in that relationship anymore. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If it resonated, please let me know. If not, let it go. Please comment below if you guys are for whatever sign you want next for this reading. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.